All right. Um, Last time we talked about shadow work, inner child healing, which is a type of shadow work. Uh, sh- and this means working with the shadows of the past or the past. And that's something that, if you have a past where you have pain, where you have situations that you haven't processed, you know, you have this certain um, these certain issues that you like to work with, and then this this shadows these shadows are what you work with when you do some kind of um, when you try to work with it for healing. So inner child healing, what we did the last time, that was a type of shadow work. So um, I wanted to talk today about um, something called grounding. Um, if you take which is something very interesting and is getting a lot of of coverage, lately. You might see, you might heard about this earthing or grounding, which is like basically taking your just basically like contacting the ground, you know, for help. Now and you might say, well, why would I contact the ground for help? What would make me do such thing? Well, if you think about it, and we live now in an area in an age where there's a lot of electromagnetic energy going around. Now you may say, well, what kind of electromagnetic energy? Well, um, we have now we've always had radio. So radio is something that's a type of electromagnetic, is something that contributes to electromagnetic energy. Um, uh, we have Wi-Fi also. Wi-Fi has to do anything that radiates waves, basically almost um, radio, Wi-Fi, 5G, you know, all this stuff is radiation or waves that are in the air, you know, and they have an effect on 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 the human body. Um, so what happens is, uh, if you so you can might say, well, how do I measure this electromagnetic energy? You know, um, well, you can take, let's say, simply a multimeter, which is a device to measure the voltage, um, the electrical properties of something, namely the voltage, uh, the resistance, uh, the current of stuff. And it's like a little box with two, which has a digital readout, and you know and whatnot. And so you take this box and you can put it to voltage, and it has to have it's a certain type of voltage that we're going to measure. There's two types of voltage. Um, you have direct voltage or direct voltage, and then we have alternate voltage. You know, um, or current, is another way to say it. Um, so we have AC and DC, right? I think you got, yeah, that's something that's more heard of than voltage. So you have AC and DC. Now AC is the alternating current, and this is the kind of current, you know that that is that, let's say, is the current, is one type of current, and then DC is direct current, another type of current. Well, you want to put your multimeter on AC, which is alternating current, and you want to go, when you want a specific kind of multimeter, one that measures, um, that has a specific range of measurement that goes down um, into the millivolt range, you know. Um, so you want a multimeter that goes down perhaps into the 20 millivolt range. A millivolt is 1 volt is a thousandth of a volt. So it's like a millivolt is 0.001 volts. And so you want a multimeter that basically that has a readout on the LCD screen that is a decimal and three digits to the right of the decimal. Now, once you have a multimeter which measures AC voltage, alternating current, uh, in the 20 millivolt range, then you also want to check if it has a true RMS. Now, true RMS is also something that is important here, because alternating current, sometimes when you're measuring alternating current, you can get some signal interference, let's say. So let's say you want to like, in practical terms, you want to measure, of course, the current of something of your body, let's say, because in this case we're going to measure ourselves. And since, like I said, there's radiation and stuff and whatnot, the true RMS, what it does is it go ahead and and measures the voltage in your body. And since radiation is in the air, it might also affect not only your body, it might affect you know the multimeter. So that's where the true RMS comes in, because it allows the multimeter to filter out these electromagnetic radiations and measure your body and all AC current without getting affected by that radiation. So we're looking for this true RMS multimeter. Okay, this is important. Another thing. So on our checklist we have AC voltage in the um, a multimeter is capable of AC voltage in the range of 20 millivolts with true RMS. Now, once we find this, we simply put it in the 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 lowest range of AC voltage or AC current, and then you go ahead and sometimes you don't even need to do that, because there's something called um, auto ranging, and this is another good thing. If you want, the multimeter will automatically search for the range in which it measures the voltage. So that's something that will help. If you find the multimeter has auto ranging capabilities, that's fine. Anyways, so you want to go in the lowest if you have an AC, if you have a multimeter without auto ranging. If you have one that has auto ranging, just put it on AC. It'll find the range automatically. And then you want to put the two sticks. The multimeter comes with a black stick and a red stick. The black stick is the negative, um, and the red stick is a positive. So you want to place the red stick. Let's say if you're measuring your body voltage on the ground. So if you have an outlet in your home and it's properly grounded, you could put the black stick um, in the ground spot or hole in the electrical outlet. In an electrical outlet, you have two holes up top and then a little ground in the middle on the bottom. So you stick the black stick in the little middle on in a little middle hole on the bottom of the electrical outlet. Or if you're outside, you can just stick it on the bare grass or in the ground, which is the same. The earth is ground. Um, and then the red stick you hold it in between your fingers, right? And then you'll see and then you'll see you know a measure of voltage. Now you can go ahead and and let's say stand on and let's say you're on the ground. We're going to keep it simple. And you put the black stick on the ground, and then you're wearing shoes. So what happens is, since you're not really touching the ground, since you're wearing shoes, you put the black stick in the ground, the red stick you have in your hand, you'll see you have a certain voltage, right? This voltage might be depending on the radiation, maybe 2 volts, a volt, you know, half a volt, maybe even in the millivolt range. Maybe you have 80 millivolts, 100 millivolts, something like this. Depending on where you are, if you're closer to antennas, you might have 3 volts, 4 volts. Even if you're using, and if you're using an electronic device close to you, if you have your cell phone or a laptop, you will get even more electromagnetic. You even have a higher voltage, due to these electronic devices. So you get your body voltage with this measurement technique. Now, remember, um, we're wearing some kind of footwear, right? Insulating footwear. You're probably wearing shoes or sandals that are rubber soled. Rubber will generally the rubber outsoles are made of generally of synthetic rubber, and that won't ground you. That will not conduct electricity. Rubber will will insulate from the ground. So you'll have this high voltage, you know, a volt, 2 volts, 3 volts, etc. And then what you want to do is just take off your shoes and and your sandals, whatnot, and then just place your bare feet on the ground, on the grass, on the dirt, whatever, and then take a look at your multimeter. Most times, the multimeter will drop to zero because Earth is 0 volts. It's the Earth is at 0 volts. It absorbs it absorbs the energy that you have, and and that's it basically. You have you will notice that you have 0 volts. So that's basically saying the multimeter is the voltage that comes from the electromagnetic radiation of uh you know uh, cell phones, Wi-Fi, radios that are that are giving us a high body voltage. You know, they get absorbed by the earth when you ground yourself, when you go barefoot on the grass. And now there's also, where you might say, well, how am I gonna go barefoot all around? Well, you don't have to, because um, first of all, not all of the earth is bare is bare. So we have sidewalks, we have roads, and stuff like this. So it's not possible to always be grounded. Um, you know, so that's something that you might want to take into account, and if you're close, or if you're to bare earth, or you can go ahead and ground yourself. You want to take advantage, so that when you're not so uh, you know knowing that sometimes in the day you can't be grounded all the time. And it's good to know what kind of materials will ground you. There are certain materials that are conductive of your body voltage, and will transfer your body voltage to the earth, so that you're grounded. Now these uh these certain materials, generally speaking, they ground yourself, but the best way, as I mentioned, is always to try with a multimeter. You want to take your meter and test, as I mentioned, you know grounding the black stick, and um, and then holding the red stick in your hands, um, and you want to see if whatever material you're on uh, is actually absorbing your body voltage, and you'll know that when you see the zero on the multimeter. Yep, so that's basically it. You might want to try this instead of the ground. Also, you might want to try other conductive surfaces. Concrete generally is considered conductive, so you might want to if you're walking barefoot on concrete, um, that's on the earth, then you're grounded. You're walking, you're conducting your body voltage to the earth, and getting grounded. Another, uh, asphalt, or tar. Asphalt, which is made out of tar, and basically what most roads are made out of, that doesn't ground you. That's insulating. So you want to know the so if you're walking on the street, even if you're barefooted walking on a paved road, on an asphalted road, you're not getting the grounding effect, of lowering your voltage. And you might ask yourself, well, what's the big deal? Why would I want to lower my body voltage? What makes you say something to such effect? Well, you think about it. Um, there's a lot of radiation, and radiation is not good for you. You know, um, it's something that affects the body, and there are some studies um, that have shown that these kind of um, uh, uh, practice of grounding, it actually reduces inflammation of the body, and promotes health. And it makes sense, if you think about it. Um, it makes sense, and it makes sense because if when you think about how humans have lived for so much time, you realize humans have lived for thousands of years, and we didn't have concrete that much back in the days, and most of the people lived barefooted and slept on the ground, and there wasn't no cell phones and there wasn't no radios with so much electromagnetic radiation, and so all this all this has changed in recent, I want to say maybe in the recent centuries, starting in the 1800s and 1900s with the radio and the advent of um, cell phones and whatnot, all this radiation going on, you know, and all these electromagnetic energies, um, they they get absorbed by the body. The body will absorb these, and and sometimes, if you think about it, these radiations, you have a certain voltage, and and when you get electrocuted, you know, your voltage goes up like 100 to 100 volts. If I apply, maybe if you put your finger in a electrical outlet, you'll get 110 volts, and that isn't a good feeling. So, you know, electronic radiation, um, it it increases your body voltage, and naturally, our body has probably become accustomed to 0 volts, and so it's something that's not, um, uh, as we always have been grounded. We've always, walked barefoot most of the time. For as much time as we've been here, thousands of years, probably a lot more, probably millions of years. You we've walked barefooted, and so we're our body is has evolved in such a way to always, you know, always have a body voltage of 0. And so now we're having all these different electromagnetic frequencies and whatnot, and this kind of stuff can alter our our body in ways that are not understood and are probably harmful for you. Such all this radiation, all these cancer rates that come up. Um, uh, have come up now. So it's it's some it's a healthy thing, and you can also ground on any bare surface, you know, on the beach and stuff like this, and on the grass, and there's a lot of products out there also that you know that you might say, well, I work all day in shoes and and whatnot, or uh you might say, well, I work at, let's say, at such and such place, and they don't and I work indoors at an office. How am I going to ground? or or I live in an apartment building or something like that. Well, in that case, um it gets it gets in that case, well, then you can ground sometimes. The best way, of course, is always going naturally to the ground and just, uh, going barefoot on the ground, or basically just, um, uh, now there's this resurgence of grounding, um, grounding mats, and, well, there's this, let's say, surgeons, or these have come on the market now, as ways to ground, to transfer the grounding effect from the earth to a mat, to like or a device. And so there are a lot of popular products such as grounding mats, grounding pillowcases, grounding um, sheets, and everything in between. Which are basically all the stuff I mentioned that are connected by to the earth by a wire. Now, so that when you touch, your skin is conductive, and so then if I touch a pillowcase, a bed sheet, let's say a rubber mat, or not a rubber mat because rubber is it's not necessarily conductive, a mat made out of some kind of material, um, uh, that is grounded, then I'm discharging my body voltage through these means, and so you get basically the same effect of reducing your body voltage to zero, as if you would have if you go ahead and go barefoot on the ground. And so you might say, well, how do they connect these devices to the earth? Well, there's two ways. You can connect. Let's say you're grounding bed sheets or you're grounding pillow sheets. You go ahead and one way is to just drive simply a metal rod, generally copper, in the ground on your backyard, in your front yard if you have one, and then wrap a cable on an electronic, um, some kind of cable to the rod. You know, it could be speaker wire, some kind of wire, a metal that conducts electricity, and so you connect this one from the rod in the ground to whatever device you're using. Let's say a pillowcase, or a bed sheet, or some kind of mat, a rubber, some kind of a grounding mat. They're made out of carbon and other materials that are conductive, not necessarily rubber. I want to make that point clear. Yep. And so there we go. You know, basically, uh, I think we've covered the basics now. And you might say, well, I live in an apartment and I don't have access on the 10th floor, and I can't go ahead and run a wire up 10 floors. In that case, then there are some devices that you can connect to your ground outlet inside your home. So if you live in an apartment building on the 10th floor, you can go ahead and just connect your grounding pillowcase or grounding mat to a a properly grounded electrical outlet. So if your electrical outlet is properly grounded, and there's a device that can check this for you, you put this device on your outlet and it'll say, okay, uh, it has lights on it, and okay, if it's and and if the lights are in a certain sequence and manner, then according to the manual of the grounding checker, it'll say, okay, your outlet is properly grounded. No, your outlet is not properly grounded. And so if you have a properly grounded outlet and you're living in an apartment 10 floors high, you can just go ahead and connect your grounding device, your mat, your pillowcase, what have you, to you know the 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 ground of your outlet, and you can ground that way too. So there's many ways of doing this, and it's very it's very helpful. It's very healthy, to reduce your body voltage. Um, as I think the body still hasn't become accustomed, even if and I don't know if that's a good thing, as the body has is being subject to so much radiation, Wi-Fi, and this and radios and whatnot. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Grounding is really important, you know, to reduce your body voltage and basically, and avoid electromagnetic radiation. And I just want to talk about grounding, and I think we covered the basics there. If you have any other questions, comments about this one, um, you know, about grounding, uh, and we also, I think, mentioned a little bit of, uh, if you want to talk about grounding or anything else, or if you want to see a video on something, let me know in the comments what you would like to see, or if you have any questions and whatnot. Let me know below in the comments. Thank you. Appreciate it.